That's such a great kickoff to the topic for the rest of the day as we look at tech for good, sustainability, European sovereignty. We have a number of great panel discussions, but first, we have something we haven't had here on the main stage yet, a little demonstration of a very cool technology. I am so excited to introduce our next speaker. She is the CPO at German Bionic, Norma Steller.
Yeah, hello everyone, good morning. Very nice to see you all, thanks for stopping by. Also a great thanks to the team behind the stage for organizing this and putting this great panel together. We are very excited to be here and to present our little showcase today on the stage. My name is Norma Steller. I'm the Chief Product Officer at a company called German Bionic. German Bionic is the leading developer and manufacturer of smart, powered robotic exoskeletons, and we sell our products since the year 2018. And since the year 2020, we connected all of our devices to collect data to our cloud, and we started with the implementation of artificial intelligence applications right away. And today we will explore a little bit the reason why we think artificial intelligence and exoskeletons are a very nice pair and in fact should go together or even must go together to really excel the product for the user. But also we will show you our product on stage in a little moment that you get a good idea what exoskeletons actually are. But first, I would like to draw your attention to the three major points of the applications of artificial intelligence in our exoskeletons. And the most important thing is that we put the user in the center of our development, and we figured that exoskeletons should feel as natural as possible, and therefore we also need to have a way to identify personal preferences or individual user needs, and for detecting that, we use AI to learn about the user and to give him the exoskeleton that he or she actually needs to do the job. Also, you will see in a moment that exoskeletons are body-worn devices, so they really react on individual movement patterns, and movement is something that we do every day very naturally, and it's very tough for us to explain explicitly what we actually do when we move our body, for example. And for that, we also use AI to detect this and to give an interface between the human who wears the exoskeleton and the machine itself. In the middle is the artificial intelligence and translates between them. And lastly, also very important, since I get the questions quite a lot, our AI is not designed to take over. So the person in the exoskeleton is actually the most intelligent partner here, but the AI is really just a moderator and an assistant. So last point, and then I will introduce my colleague. Here you see the most important applications of our products. This is really, and also the reason why we work with AI, because what you see here are very different application fields. We talk about people taking care of others in the healthcare sector. We talk about classical warehouse logistics. We talk about retail. We talk about airport baggage handling. And as you can see, all of those use cases are very different, but what's even more important, and that I really want to point out, look at the person wearing the devices. They're very different. They're men, women, sometimes they work in teams, sometimes they work alone, sometimes they work with people, sometimes they're just handling goods, etc. And our exoskeleton needs to serve all of them. And what you see here are two models. The orange one is the big brother of the device that I will show you now. And without any more delay, I would like to introduce Eric to you, who is wearing the Apogee. Yes, so maybe Eric, you can maybe turn around a little bit, that everyone gets a good view. And I will explain to you quickly what the device is actually doing and how it works, and then I will explain you how we use AI to enhance the experience. So first of all, when Eric moves a little bit to the side, what you can see, it's a rigid structure, and this is designed like this on purpose. The reason is when Eric is bending forward and when he needs to lift in unergonomic positions, the device always keeps his back straight, so we prevent back injury. This is the purpose and the main purpose of the device. So when people wear the device, we protect their backs, and we also give them additional energy. The energy output comes from 2 engines on both sides. They are sitting on the rotary axis of his hips. And when he bends forward, can you bend forward a bit? Then the engines apply the torque, and he will pull it up at his shoulders, and the exoskeleton itself supports its weight on the legs, and it pulls him up like a lever. So we protect the back, and we give the user additional energy. The exoskeleton is equipped with sensors, and we detect every single movement that he does. And when he's moving fast, the exoskeleton moves fast. When he moves slow, the exoskeleton moves slow. So he can steer the exoskeleton just by his movement. So it's a very easy way to handle a device. So no one has to be trained. Everyone can wear it and gets the benefit right away. And lastly, what I want to mention, since it's also something we're very proud of, because we're the only exoskeleton in the market at the moment that supports 2 body regions with the same device. As I mentioned, we protect his back, but also when he walks, the device will give him a little bit of support with every single step. And the purpose here is that he will save most of his own body energy and let the device work. So in the end, just imagine he works at an airport and lifting all your heavy luggage of 25 plus kilos. At the end of the shift, he should still keep his own body energy to enjoy his life and to stay healthy for a long time. So now we can ask ourselves, why do you need AI? I mean, the device works just fine. But what Eric does not notice is that with every single step he's taking and with every lift he's doing, we record his individual movement pattern. So every time he's starting his session, we collect the data, and then the device will adjust over time to his individual movements. And we do that because, as you can see on this picture, every one of us moves in a different way. Every one of us has preferences and moves differently, but also every one of us is different from day to day. So when we start in the morning, we feel energized and we have a lot of power. But when our shift drags on and when we have lifted the baggage number 500 in our day shift, then we will fatigue more and more, and the device compensates for that. So we can detect fatigue levels of the human being, and the device will increase the power as your own power goes down. And ideally, in the end, we always have the same energy output, and the person saves more of his own body energy. Yes, so this was the most important points, and then I would like to highlight a little bit more of the dimensions that we use AI. This one is, as I mentioned, the most important one. The user is in the center. We adapt the exoskeleton to the person and not the person to the exoskeleton. But also, of course, there's different other fields where we use AI. Most importantly, we also observe the device itself by predictive maintenance, for example. We can detect the perfect timing to do service intervals with the device. When we look at the exoskeleton and the user, as I mentioned, we adapt the exoskeleton to the user, but also the devices are used as preventative devices. That means when you are healthy, you wear this device and you will stay healthy throughout your career. But of course, prevention is hard to explain to people, and usually when you're not forced to wear a seatbelt, some people might not do it. And the same here. So we have to explain the benefits for everyone, and we do that on an individual basis. We don't just say, hey, when you wear the device, you will be healthy. We will tell you exactly how the device is helping you individually. The next dimension, when we look at the exoskeleton, the user, and the workplace, it's also very important because workplaces are usually very common in different organizations. Just think about baggage handling again. Baggage handling is done at airports almost everywhere the same, and we work with quite a lot of airports. So when we are going to a new airport, our device already knows the workplace and can adapt and onboard the person much easier. And then the slight individualization comes throughout usage time, where the AI then learns the new user and will adapt in the specifics. And then lastly, when we think about the exoskeleton, the user, the workplace, and the environment, there's also very interesting fields where we are looking into right now. It's not yet fully developed, but we have very interesting ideas how we can connect other machines, other robots with the exoskeleton to enhance the information and to give the worker all the contextualized information throughout his shift. All right, and then as a little summary, maybe you ask yourself, how do you came up with this, or how did you implement that? There I will just quickly show you our stages. So we started out in the year 2020 when we launched our connected products, where we just collected diagnostic data. It's not yet, of course, AI. It is still in the field of statistics, but it is the foundation. And there we figured a way to explain or to determine what the device is actually doing. And at that stage, we could, for example, very precisely say, this device compensated 450 kilogram in half an hour, and this is why you should keep using it, because otherwise this 450 kilogram will be on your back and it could potentially fatigue you and maybe injure you. So this was the first stage, diagnostics. The second stage was then a little bit more advanced, where we then started to put more context to it, and we start to think about different causes and the reaction, what we should do when certain things happen. So for example, we analyzed individual movement patterns and figured out when the person does that specific movement, then the next movement will follow, and therefore we could then steer the exoskeleton even before the user was doing the movement, but the machine was already prepared for that. So for example, we understood that one certain movement needs different support than another specific movement. Then we come to the field where we are really excelling, and this is the field of predicting, where we then can say what will happen when the worker continues to work like this for a certain amount of time. And this is important, as I mentioned, we have to monitor the fatigue levels of people, because fatigue is the leading cause for injuries, but also for accidents at workplaces, especially in warehouse logistics and in other fields. And fatigue is something that we don't really notice immediately. Our device can detect that very well. We have different algorithms and different sensors that can tell us when someone is getting fatigued, and then the device can steer itself to up the support throughout time and to keep the person on a very performative level of energy. And the last stage, this is the stage we're currently working on, so I don't know if there will be more stages coming. We're now at stage number 4, is where we are designing the product to be not only a robotic assistant, but also an informative assistant. And therefore, the device will tell the person what will happen if he or she changes certain behavior and how that will impact the safety and ergonomics at his or her workplace. And this is something we are coming up right now. This is the combination of all 3 stages before, and to really think about workplace safety, workplace health in an individual way, to tell people more precisely what will happen for the individual person, and not just to state everything in high level, because that's something that usually does not really stick. But individual predictions stick much better. So, to summarize, again, the user is in the center. Exoskeletons must be flexible enough to tailor to every single individual users. We have thousands of users out there today, and every one of them feels as the device was designed for him or her specifically. And this is what we want to achieve. Everyone should have the exoskeleton that he or she deserves to keep him or her safe in the workplace. Again, we want to emphasize that we can detect movements that are hard to explain, and we can also steer the machine and use the AI as a moderator between the human who is just moving and the machine who needs to adapt to that. And lastly, of course, when we look at our system, we all know that we do very cool stuff with AI, but in the end, in this system, Eric and the apogee, Eric is still the one who is the most intelligent, and we will not ever override him. And what I want to finish off is by saying, some people have the fear that robots will come and take away their job, especially those people that I showed you working in logistics, working at airports. I mean, not really in elderly care, because none of us wants to be having robots taking care of our parents, but still, people have a fear that this might happen. This is an alternative solution. It's not full automation. It is a design where humans and robots work very closely together, even closer than cobots, and to keep the person relevant in his or her job, because she or he is the expert, and we want to keep them. And we want to keep them healthy and in our society as long as possible. And with that, I thank you very much for your attention. And if you have
I have a question.
questions.
I have to keep it brief because we're, yeah. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about all the people who work in like big box warehouses that rhyme with Glamazon. Now, I don't want you to reveal anything you're not allowed to say, but like, have you had companies reaching out being like, how can I get all of my workers in this ASAP?
I mean, when you have logistic companies and when you see them on the street, all of them are our customers and they use that. And yes, we get a lot of questions. And usually we are approached proactively because the shortage in workforce, but especially losing very trained and very loyal workers, is a really high pain for them. Plus, especially in Germany or in Europe in general, we have the demographic shift.
Yeah.
So that means that it's harder and harder to find people to want to work in this field.
Yeah.
And with that, we can say the young people, hey, don't worry, you don't have to be sick when you are older. You get help that will prevent that, but you can still work in the job. And of course, the job gets much more attention. People feel very valued when you get a device like this, and they really feel that they want to be, or that they should stay longer in the company.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And let me just ask you briefly, you don't have a headset on, so I'll shout your answer out. How does it actually feel to wear that, and be honest?
To be perfectly honest, it's like wearing a backpack.
It's like wearing a heavy backpack, like a hiking backpack?
Yeah, well, most of the weight is on your hips.
Most of the weight is on your hips. Okay.
Feel it. So I just had it like several days at a big tech show in Paris, and I must say it was very comfortable.
So you've tried it out for several days at a big tech show, and you say it's comfy. Today, we're going to take your word for it. Next year, perhaps we'll all be wearing this. Norma,
Absolutely.
Steller, thank you so much for sharing this with us. German Bionic, a big round of applause.